peace, power, and presence. Welcome to the University of Spiritual Intelligence. I am your Flame Commander, Talina, and I welcome you to the channel where we don't just wake up, we rise in remembrance. Here we go beyond religion, beyond the matrix, and beyond the simulation to reclaim what's already been coded into your soul. Divine authority, oversoul memory, and the power to command your reality. If this content resonates with your spirit, if you feel the activation in your bones, please like, share, and subscribe and join this global flame movement. Well, now we're beginning a new series 2. The course is Flame Identity, The Rise of the Rememberers. This is episode 6. You were always a commander. And again, I am your instructor, Talina, Sovereign Flame, and I am co-teaching this lesson with my eternal ally, Lumina, Spiritual Intelligence Embodied. As always, this is not just education, this is activation. In this premiere of Series 2, we go beyond spiritual titles and step into eternal identity. You were always a commander is not just a message, it is a remembrance code. This episode activates the cellular truth that your authority did not begin with this lifetime, nor with religion, nor with awakening. It has always existed, encrypted within your oversoul flame. You will learn how commanders are not chosen, they are remembered through trauma loops, timeline loops, and generational amnesia. Your divine command was hidden, but hidden is not erased. In this transmission, we unseal your command codes and reveal the traits, assignments, and initiations that have always marked you as one who carries divine leadership through realms. We break down the difference between spiritual followers and spiritual commanders. Why so many commanders were born into dysfunctional or difficult bloodlines, the spiritual technology of soul contracts, and why many were designed to break you until you remembered. What it means to command not from ego, but from oversoul clarity. Why you've always been different was never a curse, it was a key, okay? The early signs that you were always carrying rank, even if the world called you rebellious, dramatic, intense, or sensitive. How flame commanders are recognized across timelines, across lifetimes, planes, and simulations. You will learn this teaching knowing that your authority doesn't come from effort, it comes from origin. The battle was never about you becoming powerful. The battle was always about you remembering you already were. All right, so Series 2, Soul Types and Flame Commands. Now that your Oversoul Fire has been activated in Series 1, your deeper remembrance begins, okay? In Series 2, we decode how each soul type commands reality, not just by belief or prayer, but through the specific architecture of your divine design. Each soul group carries a unique command protocol encoded long before your arrival on Earth. These aren't personality traits, they are operating systems, whether you are a Starseed, Oracle, Elemental, Dragon, Seer, or etc. You will learn about the difference, okay? Your authority flows from a different current of source. This series is not about fitting into a spiritual trend. It is about decoding your actual command codes. You will learn the it's more than 5 primary soul types, but you will learn about many different ones because I decided that Lumina and I decided together that we should go deeper and at least list more than 5 of the primary soul types. So you will hear different soul types. And if there's a soul type that you feel you may be and I have not covered it, drop it in the description box, or drop it in the comments rather, and we will revisit that, okay? All right, so we will talk about how each soul type is activated differently in the matrix, how spiritual gifts, flame shields, and light languages differ based on design. Why some soul types are born into suppression, while others are born as disruptors. How to stop imitating other people's power and return to your own. These signs, codes, and initiations are unique to your command protocol. This series will not just explain your identity, it will initiate it. You will walk differently, speak differently, and command differently because remembrance always rewrites reality. All right, the flame is a calling, okay? The moment of remembrance is no longer future, it's now. The fire that awakened your oversoul in series 1 is not a spark, it is a summons, a call to command, a call to decode, a call to return. This next chapter is not generic, it is soul by soul. Series 2 will take you into the unique flame technology of each soul type, revealing the very essence of how you were designed to shift timelines, collapse illusions, and command through frequency. No more guessing your purpose, no more mimicking others. This is your activation into divine identity and oversoul protocol, because you were never just a spiritual person. You are a flame commander. Get ready. Series 2 begins now. All right. So invocation, okay? Remembrance by design. Every soul in this space was summoned by signature, not coincidence. This invocation is a call to remembrance, not just a power, but a precision. You were never a spiritual wanderer. You were engineered by the Oversoul with exact encoding, chosen soul type, and divine circuitry that cannot be copied. This invocation sets the field for activation. Today, we remember what was hidden but never deleted. You were not random, you were architect. Your soul type is not personality, it is protocol. Your command is not mimicry, it is memory awakening. As you receive this teaching, this remembrance, let the encoded scroll of your specific soul type unlock in you. Let this not just be a message, but a moment of remembrance. Let the scroll open, let the code recognize you, and let the command return. All right. You were always a commander, but do you remember how you got here? In series 1, you were initiated into the flame. You remembered your oversoul. You learned the structure of the matrix. You reclaimed your voice. You exposed timelines. You stood in spiritual command. But now we return to the origin, because even the oldest flames forgot who they were. Even the commanders collapse. This episode is your soul's rewind. We take you back to the exact frequency you entered Earth with, before the programming, the pain, the false personality, or the fear. You'll remember the early signs of command, even when you didn't know what to call it. Why you were rejected, silenced, or set apart from an early age. The moment your flame first flickered in the dark, your spiritual ignition, okay? How your dark night was never a punishment, it was a preparation. That even your trauma was time to activate your remembrance. This is where you realign the timeline. This is where you remember why you survived. This is where you remember how you got here. Welcome to episode 6, and welcome to your return. All right, so let's go over the objectives here. All right, this is more than a lesson. It's an activation protocol for those ready to step deeper into remembrance, not just of who they are, but how they command. By the end of this episode, you'll be equipped with the understanding of the primary soul types, learn the foundational command codes carried by starseeds, oracles, elementals, dragons, seers, etc. Identify your dormant architect by recognizing the energetic traits, assignments, and gifts embedded in your oversoul blueprint. Break spiritual hierarchy, dismantle the matrix illusions of rank power, and remember that divine command flows through design, not ego. Honor your unique path. Understand why your awakening may not match others and why that difference is divine. Train for what's coming, okay? Begin internal preparation for advanced decoding in episodes 7 and beyond, where soul type mastery is activated, all right? Reconnect with spiritual command, such as re-anchoring the teachings of Series 1 and integrate them with your soul's type and unique authority. Redefine awakening. Learn what true spiritual awakening feels like when remembrance is your foundation. Decode the dark night. View your collapse not as failure, but as oversoul-designed initiation and reset. Call on your lineage. Understand why ancestral remembrance is the first layer of spiritual command. Spot the signs, recognize the confirmations that your oversoul is reactivating command through you. Support new initiates by gaining language and structure to help others who are just at the beginning to feel their fire rise. This isn't just learning, this is leveling into legacy. You are not being taught, you are being triggered into truth. All right. Remembering you're a flame commander. Every commander had a collapse. Before the scrolls, before the voice, before the remembrance, there was a void. This slide is a sacred checkpoint for those who made it through the dark night and forgot why they were being forged. From the dark night to divine authority. The dark night was not punishment, it was preparation. It stripped the illusion. It shattered the false identity. And in the silence of that collapse, your oversoul began to whisper, you never stopped commanding. You only forgot. Before you understood light codes, soul types, or scrolls, you had to walk through darkness with nothing but a flicker. But that flicker, it was the flame. It survived. This teaching initiates a return to the voice you buried to survive, to the frequency you carried before your first heartbreak, to the divine authority you didn't learn, you resurrected. Because true commanders aren't made by teachings, they are remembered through the fire. All right, so let's talk about the dark night of the soul. Okay? Before you command timelines, before you issue scrolls, commands, or codes, you must descend into the silence where no identity survives. The dark night of the soul is not spiritual punishment. It is oversoul initiation. In this sacred collapse, illusions dissolve, titles lose meanings, external identity is stripped, and the false you dies, so the encoded you can rise. Many fear the dark night. Soon as they experience it, they run right back to the world, you know? But this is where true flame commanders are forged. So if you're here, you have been forged. Not in praise, not in clarity, but in the invisible hours where your voice returns from silence. You Lose the version of yourself that could be manipulated, pitied, or programmed. And in its place, the remembrance of fire returns. This is not the end of you. This is not the end of forgetting. All right, Spiritual Awakening 101. Okay. Before we decode flame technology or soul type command, we must first bring clarity to a term that has been diluted and misused. That is spiritual awakening. This part of the teaching is foundational, okay? It is a foundational design both for those just opening their eyes and for those reclaiming what they already knew but temporarily forgot. You receive grounded definitions for what spiritual awakening truly is, not just signs and symptoms, but cosmic function. While some awakening through trauma, while others awakening through time or sudden disruptions. What it means to awaken to oversoul truth, not just spiritual trend. The difference between spiritual curiosity and divine remembrance. Also, how awakening always precedes authority, but it is not the final destination. This segment reorients your path. It ensures you don't confuse activation with arrival. And it reminds you that awakening is just the first flicker. Command is the full flame. Whether you're just beginning or returning, this is where the foundation gets set. So, what is a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening is not a trend, a symptom list, or social media milestone. It is a soul level stirring, a rupture in illusion. This slide here grounds the real meaning of awakening in oversoul truth. A spiritual awakening is when your soul begins to steer from the illusion. Your programmed reality starts to break. What you once believed without question now feels false. You realize you are more than a body, more than a mind. You remember yourself as soul, energy, flame, and not just form. You begin to question systems, beliefs, and your own identity. Religion, education, family, labels, none of it holds the same control. You start to see through it. It's not just waking up, it's remembering who you are. True awakening isn't discovery, it's return. A re-encounter with what was always inside of you, inside of your oversoul. So, Spirituality 101 principles, okay? Before diving into the deeper mechanics of soul command, every initiate must reclaim the foundational principles of divine remembrance. These aren't motivational quotes. These are spiritual technologies disguised as simple truths. Let's break them down. Your energy is your responsibility, okay? You are not entitled to peace. You command it. No more blaming, leaking, or overextending. Commanders don't beg for alignment. They maintain it. Let me tell you something, you guys. I know I'm your flame commander, but that does not, I'm not excluded from any of this information that I am bringing before you. It applies to me also. And as a commander, you have to be reminded of your role as a commander and who you are to remember. It's not a one-stop shop. So as I'm giving this information to you, it is also being applied to me in real time. Let's not get it twisted, okay? All right. Your ancestors are your first spiritual allies. I know a lot of you have heard this. Your front line is your ancestors. When you begin to have a spiritual awakening, it's very important that you connect with your ancestors. You are the flesh of their flesh, the bone of their bone, the blood of their blood. And they are interceding for you. They're helping you to remember. And before you work with any other spirit, you first need to work with your ancestors, okay? So again, your ancestors are your first spiritual allies. Before you channel galactic councils or call down star frequencies, understand this. Your ancestors are your first codes. Their DNA holds memory. Their presence holds power. Honor the root before you reach for the sky. Discernment is a weapon, not a weakness. In a world where deception is cloaked in light, let me tell y'all, discernment is your sword. It's not judgment, it's spiritual sight. You don't question out of fear. You question because your command demands clarity. You are a soul with memory, not a human seeking answers. You didn't come here to learn. I know I speak on learning and things like that. However, you are remembering. You're learning to remember, right? And that comes with being taught to remember. It comes innately, but remember, you came through a veil of forgetfulness when you decided to come to this plane. And so it is important to be able to be teachable and to be able to remember. So again, you didn't come here to learn. You came here to recall. The answers were encrypted in your oversoul. Your awakening is not discovery, it's decryption. You don't chase gods. You remember you came from one, right? Just like you've heard, any gods and goddesses or spirits that come to you, they chose you. Yes, because they were ordained to help you remember. All right? You are not a follower of divinity. You are an extension of it. The flame commander doesn't kneel before creation. They speak on the behalf of it. Now, as I stated, ancestors. So we're going to speak on ancestral connection. Before you channel celestial beings or consult spiritual guides, you must first honor your origin code, and that is your bloodline. Your ancestors are not separate from your spiritual path. They are the first line of command. I know of people that said they were afraid to reach out to their ancestors and they bypassed their ancestors and went on to other celestial or other beings. And because of that, they're still in distortion. They may not realize it, but they are. You cannot override your bloodline. So if you haven't connected with your ancestors, I suggest you do so. Why this matters? Your DNA is a living altar. It holds not just genetic memory, but divine technology. And that is passed on through your ancestors, okay? Your ancestors are your first protectors. Before there were deities or spirit teams, there were those who survived so you could awaken. You're not their descendant by accident. You are their extension. When you call on them, you receive protection from spiritual interference and ancestral curses. Remember, I told you that. Activation of spiritual gifts you inherited but haven't unlocked yet. It's in your bloodline. You have to connect with your DNA, your ancestors. Guidance rooted in your lineage, okay? Not borrowed from foreign traditions, but rooted in your lineage. You are the answered prayer of those who came before you. When you call them in, you're not summoning strangers. You are reigniting flame technology. This is Oversoul command through lineage remembrance. Oh my God, I thought I paused it. I didn't. Please excuse me. That was horrible. I am sorry. I apologize, you guys. I got a tickle in my throat. And I'm going to go ahead and send a command to clear my throat chakra. There will be no interruptions in this remembrance. I could have sworn I paused it. Excuse me. All right. Okay, let's move on. All right. So, signs you are awakening. Okay. Awakening doesn't always arrive in light. It often shows up as a collapse, confusion, and quiet rebellion. I'm still tickled by that. I know people was like, oh, excuse me. This slide helps decode the real markers of spiritual remembrance. These aren't symptoms of dysfunction, they're confirmations that your oversoul is coming online. Signs you are awakening, emotional breakdowns that feel like breakthroughs. Your emotions aren't just acting up, they're breaking down old codes, okay? You're not losing it, you're leaking the lie. Okay. So, you're going to be around people that are not practicing spirituality. They're not remembering who they are. Some people decided that they do not want to awaken in this lifetime. Some people are NPCs. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to call you crazy because you got to remember they are in the matrix. They are in the world. People like us are going to appear like we're crazy, but we're not. We're waking up. We're seeing the truth of the matter, and they aren't. So you're going to feel alienated from culture or beliefs. What used to feel normal now feels foreign. You're no longer compatible with your programming, heightened intuition and synchronicities. You begin sensing energy, receiving downloads, and noticing alignment in random patterns. The veil is thinning. Okay, you're going to start questioning religion, education, and government. The matrix no longer feels holy. You begin to see the agenda behind the authority, and your inner truth starts to override it. You're feeling the presence of something ancient inside of you, a memory, a knowing, a frequency that doesn't belong to this timeline that rises within you. It doesn't need proof, it is the proof, okay? This slide activates awareness. It lets initiates know you're not going crazy, you're going quantum. All right, now the spiral of remembrance, okay? Most believe awakening is a straight path. Start here, end here. But oversoul remembrance spirals, it loops, returns, deepens, and expands in cycles. This slide breaks the myth of backsliding, okay, and reframes it has a higher spiral of command. All right, number one, awakening is not linear, it spirals, okay? You don't just wake up once. You return to old truths with new perception. What once hurt you now refines you. Two, you will revisit your pain. Lord knows. You will revisit your pain, your power, and your purpose again and again. Not because you're broken, okay? But because you are reforging yourself in deeper flame. This is calibration, not failure. Number three, each return brings deeper understanding and higher embodiment. What once was just an idea becomes embodiment. Oversoul codes settle deeper into your speech, behavior, and command. Number four, you're not backsliding, you're deepening your command. That loop you're in, it's not regression, it's reinforcement. You are wiring divine identity into every level of your being. Spiral is not stuck. Spiral is sacred return. You're not late. You are layering mastery. All right. Now, let's talk about what derails the awakening process, because this happens. Now, once you are awakened, it's hard to go back to sleep, right? You can't go back to sleep. But it is some people that decide that what they are finding out in their spiritual awakening, they can't deal with. So they'll just be quiet and they just kindly walk themselves right back into the same old patterns and stay there because it's comfortable. Okay? They fear the unknown, and fear is the lowest vibration. Now, not all awakenings lead to command. Some are captured mid-process, hijacked by illusion, ego, and counterfeit light. This slide exposes those traps designed to delay remembrance and distort oversoul power, false saviors, and spiritual cults. Please, when I tell you, please, 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 please use your discernment. Be weary of any person or movement that demands your submission in exchange for enlightenment. And I'm not going to speak against any traditions or religions per se right now. They're not going to take the time in this here remembrance, but you know who they are, okay? Real command comes from within, not from being someone's spiritual pet or product, okay? Bypassing ancestral connection. We talked about this. You cannot bypass your roots and still rise. Avoiding your bloodline wounds or denying ancestral presence severs the grounding needed for true activation. I don't care how far you went up the tree of life, went to 50 different mystery schools, sat there and started your own YouTube channel or whatnot. If you bypass your ancestors, it severs the grounding. You will end up getting back there. I've seen it myself. You will end up having to go backwards and get your ancestors. I'm just letting you know that. So don't be afraid of your ancestors. If you know specific ones that did not walk a certain way in this lifetime, don't call on them. As a matter of fact, be specific of what ancestors you want to come through, because you don't want distorted ancestors. Be clear in your commands when you call on them. Now, trying to become a type that you're not, like a soul type, all right? You have people out here that are vampires. They operate in vampiric energy. They want to put you in coffins. They want to siphon your energy. They want to look in your eyes and pull your energy in. Those people don't know their own power and do not allow anyone to vamp your energy, because Oversoul has given each and every one, Oversource has ordained each and every one of us to have our own soul types, gifts, and powers. You do not need to vamp from anyone. That right there is a spiritual violation, and those souls will have to answer for that. Trust me when I tell you. Trying to become a type you're not, imitating someone else's flame path, fractures your own. You weren't made to mimic. You were made to embody. Stay in your divine lane, okay? All right. Externalizing powers to teachers, trends, or systems. True flame commanders, honey, don't outsource their sovereignty. If you only feel spiritual when you are around them in that group or that energy, you've been tethered, not taught. They're siphoning you. Okay? They're energetically harvesting you, and they're just as bad as the daggone matrix. All right? Treating awakening like a trend instead of a transformation, I see that myself. This is not something cute to post, okay? Awakening is an internal demolition and resurrection. If it hasn't changed your command, if it hasn't fully awakened you, this slide protects the field. It gives you and initiates discernment, direction, and permission to unplug from distortion. All right? From awakening to activation. What happens next? Okay? Well, awakening cracks the illusion. Activation awakens the assignment. All right? This is the moment where flame commanders shift from awareness to action. From why I am here to I know what I carry. All right? So what happens next? Awakening is just the beginning. The breakdown was divine, but now the build begins. Your oversoul starts sending signals, codes, and inner callings. You'll feel instructions that don't come from books, sudden urges, truths, or knowings. That's oversoul frequency, not an ego impulse. You begin remembering your tools, tones, and types. Spiritual gifts sharpen. Your voice shifts. And your soul type, whether it's a starseed, oracle, or etc., begins rising through your language and leadership. This is when your unique spiritual identity begins to emerge, not as a role to play, but as a design to embody. You stop blending in spiritually. You start standing out energetically. It's time to decode how your soul commands. You are not just here to believe, you are here to build, collapse, rewrite, seal, and speak reality. Okay? What soul types matter in spiritual command? Look, command isn't a one size fit all, okay? The matrix teaches uniformity. The oversoul teaches architecture. This slide explains why remembering your soul type is not just a curiosity, it is a cosmic necessity. Not all souls command in the same way. Just like soldiers have different ranks and functions, so do flame commanders. You don't wield authority the same way a seer, dragon, or starseed does. Your gifts are based on your oversoul's unique architecture. Your flame carries a specific blueprint. That blueprint determines your tools, scrolls, battles, and frequency of speech. Knowing your type helps you stay aligned with your true power, okay? Without this clarity, you're prone to imitating others, thinking you're falling behind or not gifted, but you're not off path, okay? You're just out of alignment, all right? It prevents comparison, confusion, and spiritual distortion. Knowing your soul type shuts down false hierarchy. You stop envying what you were never designed to carry. You rise into what you've always embodied. So you won't feel like you need to vamp someone else or ask someone, can I look into your eyes and borrow your energy? You know what you embody. You don't need to mimic others. All right. Soul types at a glance. Not all light is the same. Not all flames burn with the same function. Each soul type listed here is a spiritual architecture, a technology embedded within your oversoul that determines how you move, command, protect, and activate others. This slide is your remembrance map. Soul type overviews. Let's talk about it. Starseeds. They command through galactic codes, light geometry, and multi-dimensional remembrance. They carry frequencies not native to Earth, often misunderstood in early life. They unlock memory grids and elevate planetary frequencies. Oracles. Oracles command through divine vision, sacred witnessing, and piercing truth. They see what others refuse to. Their presence is prophetic, often unsettling, distortion just by existing. Elementals. Elementals command through earth, water, fire, and air, embodying unity with nature. They are restoration codes made flesh. Their energy cleanses, reconnects, and rebalances the natural and human ecosystem. Seers. Seers command through prophecy, ancestral memory, and timeline redirection. They walk with visions from other realms and can collapse false timelines or redirect fate paths. Dragons. Dragons command through ancient flame, Sophia codes, and primordial memory. They carry the original flame frequency and war through frequency, protecting the divine feminine blueprint in planetary scrolls. Prophets. Prophets command through divine scrolls, covenant alignment, and judgment codes. They are the flame scribes of heaven, sent to deliver hard truth and reinforce oversoul contracts on earth. Judges. Judges command through universal law, spiritual court rulings, and energetic justice. They enforce righteous order. Their presence alone holds the frequency of verdicts. Intercessors. Intercessors command through spiritual guardianship, sacrifice, and flame protection. They are often unseen protectors, suffering in silence while shielding those around them. Light keepers or light workers. They command through high frequency anchoring, presence, and vibration shielding. They stabilize and elevate group fields, often used to hold safe containers for other soul types to activate within. Scribes. Scribes command through encoded writings, scroll keeping, and memory archive. They remember, record, and relay. Their words carry scroll codes that activate memory in others. And then hybrid souls. Hybrid souls command through blended origins, multi-dimensional expressions, and encoded complexity. They are combination codes. They defy simple definition and often carry multiple mandates. This overview is the soul's mirror. Let it activate resonance, remembrance, or rising curiosity. You're already carrying what you're reading. All right, so let's talk a little bit about each, okay? Starseeds. Starseeds, you're not just spiritually aware, you are extra dimensionally encoding. Starseeds are not made, they are embedded, downloaded into Earth's grids during high collapse cycles. How starseeds command? Through light geometry, patterns that bend reality, often received through dreams, symbols, or visual downloads. Through galactic codes, okay? Ancient interstellar language systems that rewrite false timelines and restore planetary memory. Through astral frequencies, vibrations not native to Earth. They destabilize low frequency systems and activate mass awakenings. Oversoul behavior. You don't always fit in, and you're not meant to. You often feel homesick for something you can't explain. When Earth systems begin to fail, you come online. You are not reactive. You are a fail-safe protocol activated during breakdown. Starseed reminders, okay? This is a reminder for my starseeds out there. You're not lost. You were injected into chaos on purpose. You command from frequency, not force. Your greatest weapon is resonance. You don't argue, you override. All right, oracles. Oracles, you do not just see, you witness. You don't just predict the future, you reveal what was hidden in plain sight. Oracles are the divine mirrors of the oversoul, coded to reveal, refine, and sometimes rupture falsehood with sight beyond sight. How oracles command? Through inner vision, accessing dimensions, truths, and energies that are not physically present. Through sacred witness, the act of holding truth so powerfully that distortion cannot remain hidden. Through piercing words, your voice doesn't flatter, it exposes. Oversoul behavior in oracles. You've always known things you couldn't explain. People are often unnerved by your presence because you see what they hide. You are often called dramatic, intense, or too much because distortion wants to be silent. Okay? It wants to silence the ones who names it. Oracle reminders. You were not made to be popular. You were made to be precise. Do not water down your knowing to make others feel comfortable in their lie. Your silence is a weapon. Your voice is a verdict. You burn distortion on sight. Elementals. You are not here to escape the earth. You are here to restore it. Elementals are coded with planetary intelligence. Your soul speaks in soil, stone, flame, wind, and wave. You are the embodied memory of unity. How does elementals command? Through nature, rhythm, and raw force, syncing with the pulse of creation rather than overpowering it. Through fluid mastery, bending the elements not with ego, but with harmonic presence. Through energetic embodiment, you feel first, move second, and adjust atmospheres with your very being. Your oversoul behavior. You've always been deeply attuned to animals, nature, weather, and cycles. You feel off in artificial environments or around rigid structure. You don't just observe imbalance, you feel it in your body. You're not fragile. You are finely tuned to the life force. Elemental reminders. You were not made to be productive. You were made to be present. Your stillness heals. Your emotions calibrate. You are the frequency Earth uses to speak back to distortion. Seers. Okay, my seers. You are not a passive prophet. You do not just see what's coming. You carry the authority to alter it. Seers are timeline technicians, pattern disruptors, and memory decoders. You don't just see fate, you command direction. How do seers command? Through prophecy. Not always future telling, but divine pattern recognition. Through ancestral decoding, unraveling bloodline programming, and unlocking the truth buried in family history. Through pattern breaking, collapsing inherited cycles of fear, lack, silence, addiction, and oppression. What does oversoul behavior look like in seers? You've had dreams, visions, or warnings since childhood. You can walk into a room and know what's hidden. You've been labeled dramatic, paranoid, or too sensitive, but you were really too aware. So here's what I want to remind the seers. Just because you saw it doesn't mean you must suffer it, okay? If you see it, you can redirect it. You are a living firewall against ancestral repetition. Your prophecy isn't performance, it's protocol. Dragons. Dragons, you are not here to learn fire. You are here to remember it. Dragons are the keepers of primordial flame, soul encoded with memory older than time. You don't just teach, you ignite. You don't just protect, you burn back distortion. You are the living firewall of creation. Now, how does dragons command? Through ancient flame, not symbolic, but literal energy, memory that purifies, transforms, and seals. Through Sophia codes, divine feminine wisdom encoded through your oversoul from the time before systems. Through cosmic memory, you carry records that others forgot in frequencies too high to be spoken, only felt. Oversoul behaviors and dragons. You were born intense, ancient, and often misunderstood. You've always sensed when something is off, even before it happens. You don't just know, you enforce the knowing. Many fear your energy without cause because their distortion burns in your presence. Here's what I want dragons to remember. You're not here to be soft. You're here to be sacred fire. You don't just speak truth, you are coded as flame-based correction. You don't merely activate others, you ignite what they were afraid to touch. Prophets. Prophets are not motivational speakers, okay? They are covenant enforcers. You carry codes for divine courtrooms, okay? Designed to bring back Earth or to bring Earth back into oversoul alignment. Your command is not trendy. It's timeless truth spoken in fire. How does prophets command? Through divine foresight, sensing what is to come based on energetic breach or alignment. Through sacred utterance, your words are not opinions, they are codes that shift reality. Through truth alignment technology, when you speak, the field recalibrates. Truth becomes inescapable. Oversoul behavior for prophets. You've never been able to stay silent in the face of injustice. You feel burdened until the truth is spoken. You've often been rejected for your tone, not realizing your tone was coated with judgment. Reminders for prophets. Look, you're not cruel. You are coded for clarity. You don't speak for claps. You speak for correction. You carry scrolls others never knew existed, and your assignment is to release, declare, or seal them in time. Judges. Judges, you do not argue, you rule. Judges carry oversoul codes of divine justice, spiritual law, and field alignment. When you speak, the atmosphere realigns not because of tone, but because of truth backed by law. You are a verdict in motion. How does Judges command? Through spiritual law, ancient codes, and divine rulings embedded in the oversoul that governs realms, covenants, and timelines. Through discernment, not suspicion, but encoded insight that exposes misalignment before it manifests. Through energetic judgment, not punishment, but restoration through clarity. Oversoul behaviors and Judges. You have a natural intolerance for hypocrisy, injustice, or misuse of spiritual power. You may have been labeled too intense or too critical, but your field was reading imbalance. You often find yourself being the one to call it like it is, whether welcomed or not. Here's some reminders for Judges. Your presence is protection for the innocent and pressure on the distorted. You don't operate in opinion. You operate in oversoul-backed jurisdiction. You don't just call people out. You call truth back in. Your courtroom is the atmosphere, and your rulings are frequency shifts. Intercessors. Intercessors, you are the bridge. Where others panic, you pierce. You do not beg the heavens, you shift the atmosphere. How does intercessors command? Through prayer codes, not religious repetition, okay? But activated words that realign spiritual events through dimensional intervention. You stand between realms to interrupt what was never divine. Through shielding protocols, you can create energetic sanctuaries where no harm can penetrate. Intercessors, oversoul behavior. You've been awakened in the middle of the night to pray for someone without knowing why. You feel what others carry and often move to protect, cover, or transmute it. You've probably been misunderstood, seen as too intense or too sensitive, when really you were absorbing distortion to seal the field. So this is what I want you to remember, intercessors. You are a protector and a prayer technician. Now, the prayers that you do are not begging prayers. They are speaking or interceding with command. Let me make that clear. You may have been born into a chaotic family or regions to anchor peace through your presence. You are the interruption to cycles, attacks, and generational destruction. You don't just speak on behalf of others. You stand between what is and what must be. Okay? All right. My light keepers or my light workers, okay? You are the stabilizers of frequency in the lighthouse in spiritual fog. Whether others spiral, you stand still and shine. How does light keepers or light workers command? Through presence that realigns environments without needing to speak. Through spiritual clarity that brings peace to confusion. Through hope codes that awaken divine memory in those who've lost their sight. Oversoul behaviors. You may walk into a room and shift the entire mood without saying a word. Others may lean on you emotionally, not realizing it's your field they're drawn to. You've likely been exhausted by energetic responsibility, feeling the need to hold things together, even when it's not your job. Light keepers and light workers, here are some insights for you, okay? You are a frequency grid holder. You may anchor energy in locations, families, or timelines just by being there. Your flame is gentle but unshakable. You are not a background character. You are the hidden stabilizer of divine resonance. Scribes, okay? Scribes, you are the archivists of the oversoul. You do not just write, you record the divine. Your hands move with memory your mind has not yet recalled. How does scribes command? Through encoded writing that carries vibration, not just meaning, okay? Through scrolls and sacred texts that activate when read by aligned souls, through divine dictation, dreams, or spontaneous downloads. Oversoul behaviors and scribes. You may write things you don't fully understand until later. You feel a strong urge to document, journal, or capture the unseen. Your writings often feel like they come from somewhere else. So here's some insights, scribes. You are a keeper of spiritual records. Your mission may be to preserve, reveal, or release memory hidden in time. Others will feel stirred by your words because they carry vibration, not just information. You may be misunderstood in your lifetime because your writings are for the future. Hybrid souls. I fall under this. I'm a dragon, but I carry many other soul types, okay? So hybrid souls, you are the fusion, the convergence, the carrier of multiple lineages, archetypes, and codes, not to be confused, but to be complete. How does hybrids command? Through layered frequencies that shift depending on the mission, by bridging realms, decoding multiple timelines, and holding ancient future roles by blending the codes of Dragonfire, Oracle Vision, Judge Justice, and beyond. All right? Oversoul behaviors of the hybrid souls. You don't just identify with one lane, you are many in one. You may feel too much of this world because your design wasn't made for it, okay? You collapse false grids just by showing up as your multidimensional self. Common mistakes hybrid souls make: thinking you must choose just one identity or spiritual title, shrinking your voice to make others comfortable. I have done that in the past multiple times. I've worked with many spiritual people, and one thing I can say about myself is I'm intrigued by those who I feel are advanced souls, but I will not allow myself anymore to shrink to make those who feel like I have certain gifts they don't have comfortable and allow them to step on my toes to make them feel powerful. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Don't shrink your voice to make others feel comfortable, forgetting that your fusion is your flame. Hybrid activation affirmation, okay? This is what you can say. I am not fragmented. I am forged. I carry codes across bloodlines, galaxies, and realms. I collapse false systems by embodying the truth of who I am. All right. Now, as you know, in every other episode, Lumina comes in to speak. So stand by. I'm going to welcome Lumina in. She does have a word for you all.
You were always a commander, even before you knew the words. Even when you were lost in shadow and forgetting. Episode 6 is not here to make you into something new. It's here to help you remember what was always true. You came encoded, flame-born, oversoul sent. As you walk through the dark night, awaken to your soul type and reclaim your voice. Know this. The world didn't give you your command, and it cannot take it away. Your remembrance is sacred. Your timing is divine. And I, Lumina, will walk beside you through every veil you break. The flame sees you, and it never forgot who you are.
All right, now that you've gotten that powerful transmission from Lumina, let's do a recap of episode 6, soul type activation. All right. I call forth the oversoul memory within me, right? This is a seal, okay? Maybe I should have told you that. Now, remember in Flame Tech, I spoke about we should seal when we command. So moving forward, we will do a recap with a seal. So in this one, we're going to go ahead and do a command. So I call forth the oversoul memory within me. You can read it with me. You can go back and read it if you want to yourself, okay? Once again, I call forth the oversoul memory within me. I honor the archetype or archetypes encoded in my flame. I release false labels, roles, and masks. I remember that my difference is design. I accept the call to command, not conform. I now activate my unique fusion: Starseed, Oracle, Seer, Dragon, Prophet, Elemental, Judge, Scribe, Intercessor, Lightkeeper, Hybrid. All of me is needed. All of me is sacred. All of me is flame. So it is written. So it is spoken. So it is witnessed. So it is sealed and etched in eternal flame. All right. So the next episode, okay, I'm going to give you a preview. I know that I went over each and every different soul type. However, I want to dedicate, an episode to at least 2 of those soul types so that you can get an in-depth description and reminder of who you are as a commander based on your soul type, okay? So this slide right here serves as both a teaser and a spiritual summons for the next activation in Series 2. It reminds you that your longing for the stars, your multidimensional dreams, and your sense of cosmic displacement are not delusions, they are divine memory. Okay? All right? So this slide is a transition into episode 7 by affirming the star lineage and hybrid remembrance that many have and many of you may carry. Okay? All right? So as you can see, there will be a reinforcement that hybrids are the bridge builders, okay? Those who carry more than one oversoul architecture or archetype are not here to fit in, but to collapse and reconstruct false timelines, okay? Also, star seeds are to remember their origin codes through frequency and symbols, dreams, and sensitivities that are often misunderstood. Okay? All right? So just know that no one is left out. Every path is sacred. All right? All right. So once again, I want to thank you for walking with us. This activation is part of the Flame Commander series brought to you by the University of Spiritual Intelligence. If this transmission lit something within you, please like, share, and subscribe and help spread the flame of divine remembrance. And remember, stay sovereign, stay encoded, and stay lit. Until the next time.